Welcome back to Real Talk with Casey and JoJo. What's up, Casey?
Jojo, what's up?
We are season 5, episode 3. Today we're talking about stages. And what I mean by stages, the stages that we go through in life that we don't really talk about, mostly the in between. And what I mean by that is what's the first stage? You have a child and they're in diapers and you can't wait for them to start crawling stage.
Yeah, because you're tired of changing diapers. You're like, I'm sick of this shit.
Right.
Literally. Right? Like
Literally.
you get blown up on once and you never again.
Right, right,
Like
right,
if we
right.
get out of diapers, we want to blow down south, right?
We want to do the
Absolutely.
crawling. We want to start, oh, I can't wait till they start laughing and giggling and talking. And then once they start talking, what happens? They don't shut the fuck up. So then we
Why?
we we
Why?
go through
Why?
the stages of what would be next after that. We go through the toddler stage. We want them to be a little bit older because
Walking. They're walking now.
yeah, and we want them to be a little bit older so that we can start doing stuff with them, like showing them how to ride a bike.
Yeah, like
And
there's this weird in between. I remember with Isaac, right? There's this weird in between stage where you want them to like catch the ball and be able to throw it to you because they can't, right?
right, right, right,
And so you're like, oh man, that'll be cool when he can, we can play throw and catch for real, right? So yeah, I mean, that's what you're talking about, right? Like
right.
little things like that.
Little things like that. Yeah, the in
Because I mean, it's
between.
cute, whatever, but at the same time, there's a party who's like, yo, I want to be,
And
it'll
we're
be
getting
cool.
somewhere with this because it's all going to wrap around, but we're giving examples of all these stages because I'm sure some of you, whether you've had a child or children or not, this also applies to just your relationships. There's always those stages. So there's the initial, oh my God, I am in heaven, romantically in love, and this feels like I am on cloud nine, and it feels like
They
the
can't do no
honeymoon
wrong.
stage, and they're perfect, and yes. And then you hit the stage of seeing their shadow side, for example, things that you didn't quite care about before because other things made up for it. But then you started going, you know what? I don't know. Do I really want this?
Is this worth it?
Are they going to change?
Yeah.
Things like that. All the stages in a relationship. So mostly we're going to start talking about mostly about children, but we can talk about both,
Well, I
right?
think, I mean, it applies to everything,
It does
right?
apply to
I mean,
everything. So
it's,
take it however it resonates, really.
yeah, I mean, you could apply, you could just shift, just like you did, you could shift it from kids to your job to, being a teenager to, graduating and going through school. It's all levels and it's all cycles and it's all the next thing.
The next thing. Okay. So what happens after we, let's say, go through the 10-year to 15-year stage as a parent?
Okay. So we've got
We
10
have we have 10-year-old and we have a 12-year-old.
Yep.
Okay. So what stage is that? They're starting to want to be a teenager, but they're still a little bit attached to you, but yet they're rebelling a little bit.
Yeah. They're testing the boundaries of their independence, maybe.
They're socializing with others and kind of grabbing things. You start to see that they become a little bit more like the people they hang out with because
Right.
they're
Right.
getting pieces of them.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, depending on obviously every child's different, right? But I think also the stage of when they start pulling away, right? Where you start to get the sense of, they're just pulling away. It's not the same. Things are changing and it's uncomfortable as a parent, right? Like if you're not prepared for that, it's you feel like you're doing something wrong. You don't know what to do. I mean, I feel like in parenthood, man, every time you think you get the hang of it,
It
the fucking
changes.
stage changes. And
Yes.
then you got to learn it all over again. You're like, yo, I just started figuring this out. All right, we on to the next one.
Mhm. And that's what it's all about. Like all these stages, are we ever prepared? Not really. We're always learning from it. We're always evolving. We're always leaning on each other. But I feel like we don't talk about this enough. And we're gonna get to the part where we are right now and why we even started talking about this in the first place. But it was mostly because this whole um it was Michelle and I, we were talking and we're like, we don't talk about this. This isn't talked about. So I'm like, you know what? Let's real talk about it. Let's do real talk and really talk about this because um we just don't as a society, we don't as friends. You get together and oh, how you doing? Oh, it's great. My kid's doing this, my kid's doing that, blah blah blah, but then we don't really get to the next layer of, well, how are you feeling about that? How do
Yeah,
you feel about the fact that you're getting older and now she's 16, our youngest, and that our son is 18, right? And that he could leave whenever he could pretty much like last night, oh, I'm leaving to such and such, and then he's home whenever, and you can't do anything about it because supposedly they're adults, right? And then you have a 16-year-old who just pretty much made me feel this whole anxiety, which is what brought this on Thursday. She left to Miami to go to my mom's for the weekend because they're going on a cruise this weekend, which is now. And she's gone to Miami before to my mom's by herself. She was a little bit younger, right? 13, 14, I don't remember. Um, and now she's 16. She can take care of herself. She knows how to fight. She's strong, but something about this trip kind of tore me up a little bit. I was in anxiety mode. Um, and actually, I wanted to share a little story real quick. So I take her to the airport, and something in me was like, I'm going to stick around. You sure you don't want me going with you? No, I want to feel the experience of being independent by myself. Okay, cool. So she goes, but I still felt like, I don't know, I need to be around. And I normally just leave her and or whoever, I leave them and I go home. But this time I said, no, I'm going to stick around until I know that they're good and that she's good. And so I went to a nearby mall and I stuck around for a little bit, bought something I needed. And she calls me and says her charger doesn't work and her phone's about to die, which is a big problem. You're about to fly and you need to get in contact with my mom. I need to get in contact with you. Um, right as she's saying that to me, I'm thinking about where do I go? And right in front of me, there's a kiosk with all the charger things. And so I'm like, okay, quickly, what kind of charger do I need? She sends me a picture. I send her a picture of, is this good? She's like, yes, I'll be right there in 15 minutes. So I go. Her flight is delayed 30 minutes, which gave me the opportunity to even go back and park and go to security. So I'm in security and I'm like, hey, my daughter's on the other side of security over there, and I need to get her this charger so that I can access her because her phone's about to die. So they put it through the thing. She gets it. I feel like a hero, and then I'm like, "Okay, this was the reason I needed to stick around, now I can go home." And that experience right there is like just right there, I'm like, "Okay, this is why you listen to your intuition. This is why if you feel like, okay, I need to stick around, then stick around. There's a reason for it." There's no way I would have been able to do that if I had have gone all the way back home because I was close. So anyway, just to say that I had anxiety still because I needed her to get there. And go ahead, explain when you got home, like
no, no, no,
what
no.
that
I
trickled
think
into.
I think that there's like I'm glad you said that about intuition because I think that we don't listen to our intuition enough. I mean, I know that's one of your strengths, right? Would you agree?
Mhm.
Like you listen, you're one that listens to your intuition, and see, I think you listen to your intuition and you don't keep score, right? Like you if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, we're moving on, right?
Right,
Because it's all good. I'm going to listen and I'm going to trust my intuition. That's how you live your life.
right,
But I think, think about as that unraveled as you're telling that story. I'm like, man, if you hadn't have listened to your intuition, right?
right.
How much more stressed out would you have been? How much more just of a chaotic experience could it have been? I mean, oftentimes, and then this leads into the second thing is like oftentimes we find ourselves being in situations, highly stressful situations, that if we're honest and we really do a detailed accounting and audit of what unfolded, a lot of times we got a message, right? Like we got that intuitive message
You're
of,
right.
hey, yo, do this. And you're like, nah, 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 I got better things to do. I don't have time. You justify it, whatever. We move on. We've all done this. And then you experience this event that a lot of times we don't take responsibility for the fact that if we had just listened to our intuition, there was a path, our guides, a God, whatever you want to call it, had a better path for us, had an easier path for us that we missed because we didn't listen.
And I'm gonna say this, a lot of times people will not know or distinguish between fear, a fear of, oh no, I have to stick around just in case, and
True.
a gut knowing. There's a difference. There's a difference between the fear, because the fear will keep your mind racing. My mind wasn't racing. I'm gonna go get I'm gonna stick around, but I'm gonna go get what I need, and I'm gonna like shop around. It's been a long time since I've been to a mall. I mean, actually, the last time I went there was 2019 or 2020, whenever they did the quarantine stuff, and I was like, whoa. Yeah, and just all the differences. I was just like in awe. I wasn't in anxiety at that moment. I knew I was close, and
Yeah.
that's all I
You can
needed to
handle your
do.
business if you need
And
to.
so my mind was not racing. It was calm, and I was in alignment. That's the difference, because knowing that you need to be close and you following it will not keep your mind racing. That would be fear. And I just wanted to make that clear, because a lot of times we can't distinguish between.
And for some reason, I feel like sharing this. She talks to me about listen to your guides, and I'm like, whatever, man. I mean, I know it's real, but it's just like I'm very left brained, right?
Mhm.
So left brained, and I think I know everything, and I think I, can make the better decisions, and it's just a difficult place for me to be. Right? And she's like, "No, no, listen to your spirit guides." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I'm driving to the gym and I'm, like, "All right, spirit guides. Hey guys, what's up?" Not really taking it seriously, but trying to just, it's my way of opening up, but not fully opening up, right? And so I'm like, "All right, cool. Like, show me something. Like, let's talk." And whatever. I get to the gym and I'm at the gym and I'm like, "Hey, spirit guides," and I ask a question. And I shit you not, literally in the song that was playing, less than 2 seconds after I asked the question, the words were said in the song that answered my questions, and I'm like, "Okay, okay."
Let's do
I'm like,
this.
"Cool, alright." And I tried it again later. But for me, I feel like it's not like you can just ask questions and they gonna answer you, you know what
Right,
I mean?
right.
Like, you're not in control,
No,
right?
you gotta surrender to just
Correct,
let
you
it
gotta
come
surrender.
whenever it comes. Like, you're
Correct.
just
Correct, and that's what I always miss because it's like they start talking to me and I wanna just keep talking, and I get anxious and I wanna like, give me some answers and I get greedy, and then it's like I don't
yeah,
hear from them,
yeah.
right? And I struggle with that. But yeah, man,
Surrender.
yeah, it's hilarious how it is about surrendering. But I say that because if you're into that sort of thing and you've heard the same sort of things and you've been sort of hesitant, like just just kind of let it flow, man. Have some fun with it because that's the way I was able to do it because I couldn't do it seriously. I had to have a little fun with it, just to allow me to open up to it. But once I did, I started to experience it, and I've started to like develop more of sort of a
Relationship.
relationship. Yeah, and it become like I think they communicate more often, but it's still
They communicate all the time. It's how often are you open to receiving and to
right.
go, "Good morning, guys. How are
And
you?"
that's it right there because when you're like when I'm at my job and I'm dealing with shit, like it's hard to be in that mode and also be in the like
Receiving?
receiving mode. Right. Because it's you gotta like find that tipping point to where you're right there in the middle and you're just balancing. But it's hard to get there.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's a dope experience and I don't know, it's cool. So try it.
Practice.
Yeah, try it, practice it. Um, yeah, they talk to you. It's crazy, man.
All the time. They're just waiting for you to surrender to listen, and for you to receive the messages in whatever way they're meant for you to be to received, if that makes sense. Like it's
Yeah.
whatever way works for you most.
Yeah, and I heard guy Ben Bergeron. I talk about him a lot. He's a CrossFit coach, sort of mindset coach guy. And a lot of his stuff I resonate with. And he was talking about when lost my train of thought.
Ben Bergeron. What was he talking
Yeah.
about?
Hold please.
Please pause.
Man.
Ben Bergeron.
Ben Bergeron. Totally lost it, bro. It'll come
Like
back. It'll come back.
yesterday,
Oh my god.
when I lost my man. That's sad when you lose a thought and you never like get it back. Where did it go?
Yeah, I should have just told it, not let up with the Bergeron talk of who he was and all this other stuff.
Oh,
Just
because
say,
you were gonna go down that road.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna go down
Yeah.
that
Well,
road.
what did he say? What did you see?
I can't. I'm trying, and I can't
You're
picture any
reaching
of
too
it. I'm
hard.
reaching too hard. Yeah, you
All
just
right,
gotta take over,
surrender.
buddy. Take over. It'll come back.
Surrender.
Surrender.
Okay. So let's talk about surrender in this whole case. So her plane was delayed a little bit more because there was a storm. She had to fly around all the way to Bahamas to get away
Got it.
from the storm. Go ahead.
So, like he was talking about how like life is a game. Life is a game. So if you really like advanced people that I think have a higher sense of or higher connection or have a higher what's the word I'm looking for?
Consciousness.
Consciousness. Yes, thank you. Higher consciousness. They play the game differently than people with lower consciousness play the game, right? He's like, so if you picture, and this is where I put a little bit of my Ketherisms or sweaterisms or whatever in, but ultimately, if you're playing the game of chess, right, and life is the game of chess, essentially all that ever happens is a move is made that you weren't expecting, and it causes stress, right? It causes you to go, "Uh-oh, what's happening? What do I
What do I
do?
do?
Which direction do I go?"
How do I react?
And it's in those moments, right, that and where the intuition has to kick in and you have to move from, right, the left to the right, allow calmness and breath to sort of take over, and you get centered, and then you can sort of reconnect and settle down your path.
Y-
But it takes, bro, like, oh my God, it takes so much like just work and intention throughout the day because I know for me habitually, man, it's like that's just not how I operate. Like I got this, I'll handle this. Keith got this, and it's every time it ends up being harder when I try to do it my way, like almost all the time.
This is the ultimate example of finding peace within the chaos. You can't get to the right from the left, left being the chaos, to the right. You just there's that sweet spot in the middle. You have to find it, but it comes from being in that chaotic
Yeah,
state.
and I think about it, right? Like, what if life, just like the game of chess, if life is chess, what if your literal cheat code is just simply being centered, being quiet, and just receiving the message to make the next decision whenever it's needed? And that's your cheat code. And you make the most perfect move and you wait for the next moment. And then you ask and you receive and you move through life like with your guides, not eliminating your problems because we're always going to have ups and downs, right? We're always going to have dark and light. It's just the way this nature of
Duality.
duality works. But the path becomes so much smoother and nicer and you're able to like feel freer and lighter,
Okay, here's
right?
another layer. So which player are you? Which piece are you
What you mean?
on the chess game
Oh,
board?
right now? In terms of
In
like,
this metaphor,
is this like a skill level? Like which piece would I be in terms of like,
just answer the question because I'm going layers with it.
bro, that's hard.
No, just
Honestly,
answer
I
it.
would put myself in maybe like a rook, sort of
Okay,
like forwards and backwards and
and
sideways.
here's the real deal. We are all of those. We play a part as each and every one of them.
Right.
Because think about it, our higher selves are us playing the game, and we are one person playing all those different pieces.
We have all those aspects within us.
Yes.
Right. So
So that's why it says, as long as you know how each one is played, then you're able to play the game, right? So if you know all those aspects within you, if you know thyself, ooh, if you know thyself, then you can access those. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, and I think you're speaking on a level of
I know I was going into a deep
like I
layer
think I
with it.
think what you're saying is like again the game of chess metaphor. You're speaking on if I understand the intricacies of what each piece can do and how they move and how the blocks and the playing board um sort of reacts to both sides moving at the same time with the trying to capture the king,
Mhm.
right? Then the deeper my knowledge and understanding, knowing thyself, right, allows me to then be able to play the game more effortlessly.
Yes, and here's another thing deeper. Not only are you this white pieces or whatever, you're also the black pieces. Because in the game of the duality, you're really the one you're playing against is really yourself, the shadow aspects of yourself.
Yeah,
I love going deep.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Anyway, can I finish the story about Issa?
Please.
Okay, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed that part because that was random as fuck. But So she goes around the storm, ends up getting there way later than normal. So of course I try to distract myself until she gets there and my mom has her and we're good. I think the key was mostly that I wasn't going to be able to contact her throughout the weekend as she's in the Bahamas. And that whole feeling, and you know how I am about not having contact with those that I love in some way, shape, or form. I start to feel anxious and anxiety, right? And so I was super anxious. You got home and I started telling you how emotional I was, how I missed her, how I was sad, how all this. And it turned into understanding that it was more because you said to me, but she's gone before. Like she's left. Why is this any different?
Right.
Like, why are you crying? And I'm like, I don't know. Um, but it was really because it feels like it's one step closer towards that help me out with that word um
Empty nester.
empty nester stage. We're in that in between stage of we're soon to become empty nesters. And we don't ever prepare for this. We don't really talk about it. We're like, what is that going to feel like? It's a feeling of detachment, having to let go of what you've created and made and have lived with and have been with for so long. Like, what does that look like? You know, all these feelings in
Yeah.
one.
Well, and I think too, like the more important aspect that I figured out is that we both experience the same things just in different ways, right? Like you crying and you being upset about her not being here and everything that you just described. Like I've already been through that. For me, when I found out, and just real talk, right? There was a moment in time. There was a moment in time where like just
That messed him up.
I found some shit. I found some shit out. We had a discussion, her and I, and it changed things because it just did. Not to get in, I can't get into that. But the point is that I know when you experienced it, and I haven't told you this, um, it helped me sort of like put it to bed and understand that okay, this is a process. This isn't something that is happening to me. It's happening to me, but it's required. Like I have no choice but to go through this
You
process,
have to surrender.
right? Correct. I have to surrender. So you experiencing that, I think, was very similar to what I experienced. So it allowed me to surrender even further and okay, this is happening,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
Like it's gonna happen no matter what.
And I think that that's the whole point of this. I think that not only are we surrendering to what is to come, we're also surrendering to the present moment and then allowing ourselves to settle in that moment. I always say this, create it as a memory, create it as an opportunity, to come back to, because a lot of times we're just stuck in our past, we're stuck in our future. And the more and more that I find information about this, the more I am convinced um all that crap we have upstairs and in the attic and all the things I hold on to are things that I'm holding on to from the past
Yeah, internally. Yeah.
internally, right? And I really just want to let it go. Like I'm tired. I feel like all this back pain is just I've been carrying all this weight and I really just want to let it go. And that's surrendering. I feel like we need to
Well,
change this to
and I
surrender.
think I think you speak to something that if you have kids and you've been through the stages, like you have to be willing to let go, but you often have to be willing for change, and that's a very hard thing to do because it doesn't happen when you want it to happen,
Right.
right? It happens. It's different for each child. I think it's different for each individual, but it just happens, and you just have to go with the flow, and that's the extremely difficult part about it. Um, but yeah, man, I think that like now looking at like where we are and the fact that kids are leaving, kids could potentially be gone. I mean, I don't think that people talk about like midlife crisis enough either. I think that they're made fun of in some way. I know like a lot of 80s and 90s movies, kind of made fun of it, the red Porsche or the sports car or whatever for dudes. But I think
That was
that,
the whole father.
having kids at this age, like like me and my son were having a conversation and he's like, man, why you always talking about feeling old and shit? It's like, I don't feel old physically and I don't look at myself and think, man, I'm old. all the shit that happens around me makes me feel old, right? Like the fact that they're remaking Twister. Like what the fuck that came out? Like we met. I knew you when Twister came out. And now they're remaking Twister. Like I must be old. Like you old if you can say some shit like
But
that.
it's not that. I think it's mostly seeing where they are and knowing that you've been there already. It's like you get to replicate your cycle, your of your life through your children,
Yeah, but it's still it still
which
is
is
a
old.
lot to handle, right? Like, you know, your daughter starts dating, your daughter gets a boyfriend, you know, your son's going out until 3 a.m. in the morning and he's 18. Like, you know, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That we
And
don't
there's a
talk
lot
about, that we
process,
have to
there's a lot.
accept and just be like, okay, from one day to the next.
Correct, and you're going through some shit yourself, right? If you know, if you got 18 to 20-year-old kids, you're probably in your 40s, so, you know, upper or lower, middle, somewhere, and you're in between, and you're kinda in that stage where you know they're leaving, your life's gonna change, you know, where are you going? You know, you're on hole 10 at this point, you've lived half your life, you got, you know, 15, 20 years of productive life in you, supposedly, according to what this world says, and you're going, "What the fuck am I gonna do with the rest of my life?"
And that's where a lot of people give up.
Well, I think if you know, I think if you haven't been the person that's chased your dreams, if you're the person that's sort of, you know, maybe made decisions not for your own best interest, but for the whole, you know what I mean? Maybe you start to have those thoughts because I know I can identify with that to some level.
Mhm.
But I think that, yeah, I mean, you sort of reach a crossroads of, you know, what am I about? What am I about? Like what? Who am I? Like, you know, where whoever I am, I need to make sure that I'm on the right trajectory, right? Because you start to feel like you know, it's not the end of
Like,
the
what is
road.
this
It's not
for?
like
What is
that.
the point? Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you know, you pretty much got to shit to get off the pot at this point. Like, let's go. Like, what are we doing?
What's my purpose? Yeah.
Right? Like, what's my part? Yeah. And I think that that aspect of it, and then dealing with like you know, as becoming an empty nester and just everything that I just said,
There
man.
is no manual for this shit.
Nah, and it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. But it speaks to the beauty too of like the human connection because I think that what's so amazing about that is that everything that we're talking about, everyone experiences. Like this,
Yeah.
it's not exclusive to anyone. It only varies by degree between the individuals, right? But
Right.
we all want the same things. We all want to go, you know, experience the same things. We all just want to be loved at the end of the day, right? That's what it all is. And I don't know where I'm going with this.
Surrender.
But yeah, surrender, bro. That's hilarious, man. Get everything you want, just surrender.
Just surrender.
So
Let
true, but
go and
so
let God
difficult. So true, but so difficult.
take the motherfucking wheel. So I feel like if we don't talk about it enough, if we don't start discussions like this, if we don't have a support system, a community that's there to ask you, how are you? To, luckily all the members in the academy were, because I was on the chat, just like letting them know, peace guys, letting them know how it affected me, and they were all there very supportive. You were there very supportive. Having that support system while you're going through these stages, because these stages are never ending. They're just ups and downs, and really it's just having that support while you
Well,
surrender to the freaking
and
universe.
I think it's like, you know, like we're our own worst critic, right? Like I'm the worst parent in the world. Who hasn't felt that way? I'm an awful fucking parent. I know I felt that way, right? Not all the time, but lots of times.
Right.
Right. And we have to, you know, we're our own worst critics. So we when we hear the struggles of other people, when we hear someone tell a story and you can relate to that and go, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not the only fucking one experiencing this. I think that in and of itself just allows you to be more in allowance, you know, because it gives you some sort of peace in knowing that, okay, like this is just the path.
Right. And then allowing and having that like acceptance, I guess, that permission slip of, okay, I can take this baby steps at a time. Like we did a whole live when Michelle's daughter went away for college, and just her having to accept letting go of her not being there anymore, and all the in-betweens that come with that. And I got to experience that with her as a warm up for when I experience That's how I took it, and also to be there for support for her. So um it's always there for everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's not just, how do I put it? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Support.
Support. Um, so the whole conclusion to this is that remember these stages are always going to change. There's always going to be something next, and then the grandchildren. And I'm sure when we get there, we'll talk about it, but hopefully not anytime soon. Um, Right now, I want to focus on the moments. Right now, I want to focus on when she returns, spending that time with her. It makes you kind of appreciate those moments you do spend together more because you realize that it could be gone at any moment and you can't really um, put time as a definite because you don't, it's cyclical. You don't even know when is the last day. So really, um just surrender and follow your intuition and remember that these ups and downs are always going to be there, so make sure you have a community. And speaking of community, we have our retreat coming up in May and we have one suite left, so if you're interested, please comment or let us know, message us, we'll put the links below. But it would be an amazing time to go through any type of healing that you need to go through, some transmutation and some um tips and tricks on how to get started into a new cycle, because we will be shifting a whole new cosmic cycle starting this March equinox. So we're going to be talking about all of that during the retreat. But for more information,
You know
escapewithin.love.
what it's like? I just thought about it. Like we hate me. We don't live like we have two dogs. You know, we have teenager kids. Like we don't live in the cleanest house, right? But I know when we do clean it and versus when it's not, like you can tell a difference.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we
And
used
that's
to be
what
so fucking clean
and
before the kids and the dogs.
yeah,
Remember?
those
It
were the
was like
days.
spotless.
Those were the days.
Anyway,
But yeah, so it's like it's I feel like the retreat experience almost cleanses you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It gives you a
renewal.
restart. Yeah, a renewal because you're in a high vibration for, 4 days and you're around, positivity. The food is amazing. The food is healthy, nutritious, high energy food. You're moving your body, you're moving your mind, you're connected spiritually. So it's like you kind of hit that trifecta and you're like, oh shit, okay. And then you come back home and it's like, whoa, you don't realize. I remember picking up video game, man, to play a video game. And I'm like, this is so stupid. This is the biggest waste of time in the world. Why do I do this,
I
man?
know. I can't wait to go again.
Right? Like, but it gives you it gives you that reset. And it doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that, you come home and
And your life changed all
you
of a
could you
sudden.
could
It
change
could.
you could change your life, but it gives you
A start.
a view and just a peering into what could be, and I know for us on our first retreat experience, man, that shit was like, okay, like this is possible, right?
Yeah.
Like this is possible.
I
Like it's
can't wait. I
possible
can't
for us
wait.
to be vegetarian. Like this shit is real. Like, we could do this.
Yeah.
And here we are. So anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. So more information at escapewithin.love. Again, we have one room left. So check it out and make sure that you get on a discovery call with me so that we can talk about it and see if this is the best fit for you. But thank you guys so much for watching. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.